Hello and thanks for tuning in to NHK Newsline. I'm Yoshi Ogasawara. Delegates from a U.S. think tank have visited Taiwan for talks with President Tsai Ing-wen. They're headed by a former defense secretary who says Washington should shift away from a long-held policy of strategic ambiguity should China invade. Mark Esper met Tsai on Tuesday in Taipei as part of the Atlantic Council. He served as defense secretary from July 2019 to November 2020.
It is my personal view that the one China policy has outlived its usefulness, that it is time to move away from strategic ambiguity.
Esper slammed Beijing for continuing to challenge the rules-based international order, and he described Taiwan as being on the front lines of an epic contest. Speaking to reporters, he suggested Taiwan could gain more U.S. support by increasing defense spending and lengthening mandatory military service. China bristled in response. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian said the One China principle is the basis of relations with the United States. He also said Beijing opposes any attempts to interfere with China's internal affairs. Japan's foreign minister says he's taking a wait-and-see approach to an issue that's strained ties with South Korea. He says he wants to see if Seoul can present a solution to settling lawsuits against Japanese companies over wartime labor. Hayashi Yoshimasa spoke to reporters a day after he met his South Korean counterpart in Tokyo. The pair agreed to find a solution to the issue as soon as possible.
We've been telling the South Korean side repeatedly that if it goes to cash in, it will lead to a serious situation in the Japan-South Korea relationship, and that we should have to avoid it.
South Korean courts have ordered Japanese companies to compensate people who say they were forced to work for the firms during World War II. Judicial proceedings are underway to liquidate assets seized from the companies. Japan's government says any right to claims was settled completely and finally in 1965 when the two countries normalized ties. It also says the rulings and procedures were in breach of international law. Japan has been urging Seoul to rectify the situation. The South Korean government formed a public-private group to discuss the issues. It held its first meeting this month. And on Tuesday, the South Korean foreign minister met with Prime Minister Kishida Fumio. Park Jin conveyed condolences from President Yoon Suk-yeol on the death of former Prime Minister Abe Shinzo, who was shot and killed earlier this month. Kishida expressed his gratitude and asked that Seoul make efforts to resolve the differences between their two countries. Park later said he had told Kishida he would work to find a solution before the assets of the Japanese firms are cashed in. He also told Kishida that Seoul hopes Tokyo will respond to the matter in a sincere way. A Russian diplomat is floating the idea of using North Koreans to help rebuild devastated parts of eastern Ukraine. It comes after Pyongyang officially recognized two regions effectively controlled by pro-Moscow forces. Russia's ambassador to North Korea made the remarks in an interview with a Russian newspaper. Alexander Matsegora describes North Koreans as highly qualified, hard-working, and prepared to labor under harsh conditions. And he says they could help rebuild devastated infrastructure and other facilities. Matsegora praised Pyongyang's decision last week to recognize the Donetsk and Luhansk regions as independent states. A UN Security Council resolution urges all members to repatriate North Korean workers. There have long been concerns they funnel foreign currency into Pyongyang's nuclear and missile programs. The Parliament of Thailand has started debate on a no-confidence motion against Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha and 10 other ministers. They've been accused of economic mismanagement, corruption, and human rights violations. The opposition says Prayut and his government have repeatedly caused trouble for the people over the past 8 years. The allegations include using the law to crack down on critics of the government and mishandling coronavirus measures. This is the fourth and final such grilling of Prayut before his government ends its term next March. He survived all three previous motions. On Monday, the Prime Minister said he and the other accused ministers are ready to face any questions. The ruling coalition has a clear majority in the House of Representatives, but the latest debate comes amid growing political uncertainty. Last week, one of the coalition parties reportedly decided to withdraw its support for the government. The debate continues until Friday. The no-confidence vote will take place on Saturday. People in Europe are enduring a record heat wave. Scorching temperatures have touched off wildfires in France, Spain, and Portugal. Residents have been forced to evacuate as flames approach their neighborhoods. This video was taken on board a Spanish train during an emergency stop. Passengers watched as flames surrounded them. Britain's meteorological office says temperatures over 40 degrees Celsius were recorded in the country for the first time. It says London's Heathrow Airport reported 40.2 degrees on Tuesday afternoon. The heat has knocked out some transport facilities. Flights at Luton Airport near London were temporarily suspended after the runway was damaged. Rail operators also canceled some services and imposed speed limits after defects were found on tracks. The heat is also breaking records in France. People in Paris struggled to deal with temperatures topping 39 degrees Celsius.
Just keep on drinking, and I try to find shadows also here in Paris, but you can barely find them also, which is really hard.
The west was even hotter, with the mercury rising above 40 degrees. The coastal city of Biscarros recorded 42.6. Temperatures are soaring again on Tuesday. Weather officials across Europe are urging people to take precautions. While here in Japan, weather officials are warning of more heavy rain. Western parts of the country have already been drenched, and areas around Tokyo are being hit by torrential downpours. Heavy rain is falling across the archipelago as part of a weather front and a low-pressure system. Atmospheric conditions are expected to remain unstable through Wednesday. This footage was taken on Tuesday afternoon in the city of Atami in Shizuoka Prefecture, west of Tokyo. In parts of Chiba Prefecture, east of the capital, over 50 millimeters of rain fell in just an hour. Parts of Kyoto saw around 90 millimeters in a similar time period. The wet weather will likely continue throughout most of western, central, and eastern Japan, with up to 250 millimeters expected over 24 hours. Officials are calling on people to remain on high alert for landslides and other hazards. One of Japan's greatest figure skaters is turning pro. Hanyu Yuzuru will retire from competition, keeping his back-to-back Olympic golds from the Sochi and Pyeongchang Games.
これから競技会っていうものに出るつもりはないです。僕が、これまでやってきた中で、もう競技会に対して結果っていうことに対して、取るべきものは取れたなっていうふうに思ってますし、そうですね。そこに対する評価をもう求めなくなってしまったのかなっていう気持ちもあります。
Hanyu told reporters he made the final decision after faltering at the Beijing Olympics. He attempted a jump no one has ever successfully landed in competition, the quadruple axel. But the star skater stumbled and fell short of the podium.
これからもプロのアスリートとして、競技者としての他のスケーターと比べ続けられることはなくなりました。ただこれからは自分のことを認めつつ、また自分の弱さと、そして、自分の過去の自分とも 戦い続けながら、これからも滑っていきたいと思っています。
羽生 encouraged fans to keep watching, saying he'll continue trying to perfect that impressive 4.5 turn jump. Now to Major League Baseball. Ohtani Shohei will be batting in Tuesday's All-Star game, but the two-way sensation will not take the mound. Ohtani explained to reporters that he needs to pitch for a Los Angeles Angels regular season game just 3 days later, so he'll focus instead on his time at the plate. Ohtani will be the American League's designated hitter and leadoff batter for the All-Star game at LA's Dodger Stadium.
打者として出るので、ホームラン狙ってしっかりスイングしたいなと思ってます。
Ohtani also said he wants to play for Team Japan in next year's World Baseball Classic. He's had to sit out the tournament in the past due to injury. But Ohtani says he'll be ready if picked. The star athlete has not yet officially asked the Angels to take part. On Monday, the team announced Ohtani's teammate Mike Trout would play for Team USA. Next, we have world weather with our meteorologist Sayaka Mori.
Hello there. A heat wave is roasting in parts of Western Europe on Monday. The high rose to 42.6 degrees in parts of southern France, and also the high rose to 38 degrees in parts of the United Kingdom. And we are seeing a lot of wildfires in parts of the Iberian Peninsula. Take a look at this video from Spain. As the heat continues to bake the Iberian Peninsula for more than the week, wildfires are also causing problems. One of them is raging in Zamora province in Spain, sending thick smoke billowing into the sky. More than 70,000 hectares have burned, as dozens of fires are forcing people to evacuate from their homes. In addition, at least 2 people have been killed by the blazes. Now, parts of Portugal had the high of 47 degrees last week, making the hottest July day on record. Hundreds of people have died because of heat-related illnesses in the Iberian Peninsula in just 1 week. The heat is gripping the north as well. It's going to be quite hot on Tuesday in the United Kingdom. You could experience the national hottest temperature on record on Tuesday. The high could be dropping on Wednesday, thankfully, though. London could see a high of 27 degrees, but instead Berlin could be sizzling hot. The high could hit 40 degrees on Wednesday, so it's going to be hotter than Madrid, Rome, or Athens on the day. Meanwhile, heavy rain has been hitting parts of western Japan. Dangerous narrow rain bands are affecting parts of the region, bringing copious amounts of heavy rainfall in just 1 hour. Nearly 90 millimeters of rain fell in Kyoto, tying the all-time record. Dangerous rain could hit parts of Kyushu because we will see ample moisture flowing from the south, and the low will be drifting over the Tohoku region, so heavy rain could lead to flooding as well as mudslides in parts of the country into the next 24 hours at least. And temperatures are going to be quite hot in Tokyo. That's it for me. Have a nice day.